All right. And with that, greetings. My name is Christopher Cooper. I'm a member of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated's fourth district, the voter registration, education, and mobilization initiative for the states of Ohio and West Virginia. I am coming to you, my brotherhood, and of course my community, with a great man here and a good friend of mine for more than 20 years, Mr. William Washington, and of course, brother Tim Ryan, who is in one of the biggest, I think, competitions the country is keeping an eye on. I would like to first and foremost to you, Brother Ryan, I want to say thank you for coming on. Thank you for taking time to be here. We greatly appreciate it. Again, Mr. Washington, you and I know each other, but thank you. Thank you for making this possible. Brother Ryan, I want you to know that we will present this to my brotherhood, which is Ohio and West Virginia, probably tomorrow, and then we will present this to the world no later than Thursday morning. Of course, you know, with all that you are looking to do, as divisive, as incredible as your campaign has been, because you're running one of the biggest races. I've seen it all over CNN. I see it everywhere. I've got family as far south as Texas, and they have asked me about you. So everybody is watching. My entire community has questions, and I want to make sure that we make the most of your time here. And potentially, I want people to be passionate about those who are passionate about our community. So, with that, greetings, sir. Can you give us a quick rundown of who you are and what you look to do? Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it, Christopher. Thank you for the opportunity. Always good to be with our guy Will, who's been keeping me busy over the last few months. But I come just outside of Youngstown, Ohio, where I grew up in a small town, Niles, and pretty average growing up. Divorced parents, older brother, lots of sports, Catholic school for 13 years. Played football and had some success, got a football scholarship to Youngstown State University.
Okay.
Back when Jim Tressel, who became the Ohio State coach, was at Youngstown State, and he recruited me, and then I blew my knee out, so I had to go to college and drink beer as I moved on from my playing days. And and then I eventually came back and worked for a local congressman in Youngstown, and really kind of caught the political bug and saw public service as a way to really give back and help the communities that I grew up in, and went to law school and then ran for the state Senate. Won. A year later, ran for Congress in an open seat, and won again, and have been in Congress for the last 20 years, really fighting for working class people, whether they're white or black or brown, gay or straight, men or women, manufacturing or service sector, just out there fighting for the working class. There's enough millionaires in this business. We got to have some people fighting for the average people. And that's been my mission.
Greetings. And then, Brother Washington, go right ahead and explain to us what brings you here today really quick.
So my name is William Washington. I'm African-American Outreach Director here at Ohio Democratic Party. What brings me here is because I understand how wonderful the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated brothers are. I know how service-oriented you brothers have been, and I know that these brothers are extremely active. So I definitely wanted to come and court your vote at the very least, and have Tim, who I believe is the best person running in his race, to have the opportunity to explain some of his platform and get to know you a little better.
Splendid. So thank you, and thank you for making this a reality. Mr. Ryan, sir, I want to just kind of jump in here, and the first thing I want to talk about is we understand fully who you're running against, and I want to make sure that we establish it. Why are you the best candidate and the best person to represent our community throughout Ohio and West Virginia?
Yeah, appreciate it. I'm clearly the most Ohio guy, like the person we're running against. I won't spend long talking about him because that's not really why we're here, but an absolute extremist, running around with Marjorie Taylor Greene and like the most extreme political people. He's for the extreme positions of, on abortion, no exceptions for rape or incest. He wants a national abortion ban. He wants to follow what people are doing on the internet. Just a very much big government in our private lives kind of thing. And he says and believes some really outrageous things. He was talking about a national abortion ban. Here's how he put it. George Soros, if we don't have a national abortion ban, George Soros, happens to be Jewish, is going to fly a bunch of black women from Ohio out to California to have abortions. Now, that's how this man thinks, and that's what he wants. So enough about him. But I have been fighting for places like Youngstown, Ohio, which have seen so much loss, the manufacturing base, the new technology jobs, either leave or never come. And I've been fighting on the front lines for economic development, growth, and jobs, and have worked really hard to figure out how do we plug in all of our communities to make sure that they can get the jobs of the future. So one earmark that I got for about $150,000 a few years back was called Pathway to the Building Trades. How do we get people in inner city Youngstown schools and inner city Warren schools, primarily black kids? How do we get them on a track to get into the building and construction trades, the jobs of the future, building electric cars, building electric trucks, building these computer chips, the products of the future that we want this country to dominate in. And so always with an eye towards not just the growth, but making sure that everybody can participate in it. And of course, we want people to go to college and all of that, but the vast majority of the workforce needs to be working class, and we need to make sure that we're diversifying the workforce and giving everybody opportunity. And I've been fighting for that my whole career. But I think when people realize where I'm from, the Youngstown area, they understand that I get it, and they know what I'm fighting for.
Splendid. Thank you for that. So I kind of want to jump right in. I think that as I watch your campaign, I think that one of the things that happens a lot with both candidates, with yourself more than anybody, because I know that there's in some cases internationally, there are people who are spending money to try and beat you. There is a recent sound clip that is out there, a sound bite, I should say, that talks about President Biden's recent decision to forgive student loans. Now, throughout the country, I know that has different interpretations. Some people see that differently, but within our community, many of my brethren are first or second generation college educated. And all of us have had to pay student loans, be it for undergraduate or even our graduate education. And in many cases, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was presented as if you are a complete opponent of that, student loan forgiveness program. But how it was heard in our community, and I think versus what you meant, could have been two different things. So I kind of wanted to give you a quick platform to kind of clarify and expand on that a little bit more.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And, we're still paying off my wife's student loans. So I understand how crazy this is, the interest rates at 9, 10, 11, 12%. I mean, it's usury laws, man. It's crazy. And my problem with, what the president was doing is not that we're not having an attempt to try to relieve some of that burden. I believe that the best strategy, one, is to allow people to renegotiate those loans down to 1 or 2%. So you can save a lot more money, put a lot more money in people's pockets, and for them to, absorb some of the costs that are going on out there. The other issue I really had, Christopher, is that we didn't fix the problem. Like we didn't do anything about college costs at all. And we didn't say, like, for example, I'm sure there's a lot of ideas, but if these colleges are going to, provide federal student loans, then they can't increase tuition more than the cost of living, or some mechanism that isn't going to put us back in the same position here in 5 or 10 years, where we have to spend another $300 billion helping people who ended up, getting all of this student loan debt. $300 billion, we could provide universal pre-K for every kid in the United States. This is a lot of money. So if we're going to go down the road of helping people out, let's at least figure out a mechanism that's not going to put us back here in 5 or 10 years. So I'm all for, I think the best way to do that, negotiate down those rates, put a bunch of money back in people's pockets or give them the opportunity to pay down the principal. I do believe if you take out a loan, you should probably pay it back. I think that's important value that we have. But the usury rates of 10, 12% are outrageous. They do nothing but help the banks. And so we've got to get that problem fixed. But the only way we can do that is by making sure we actually fix the root cause of the problem, so we're not back here in 5 or 10 years doing the same thing.
Splendid, splendid. Thank you for that clarification. I kind of want to dive further into it. I'm not sure why, but if I'm on YouTube, if I'm on Instagram, it doesn't matter what platform of social media I am on, I am now seeing a commercial that says, "Don't vote for taxing Tim Ryan," which I realize is just a rhyme. It's probably not the truth, but before it takes legs, acknowledging that we live in a world where a lie can go a long way. I kind of wanted to ask you to clarify that and really explain what your goal is, what your intent is, and really and truly, what is the truth to your thought process on taxes and what you intend to do.
Yeah, no, appreciate that. I think it was Churchill who said that a lie is halfway around the world while the truth is still home putting on its pants. So that's how that rolls. To me, look, I've been fighting for a tax cut for working class people. I think with inflation, cost of goods, gas, food, etc., working people need a tax cut. And I've been fighting for that for a long time. We had one, the child tax credit that was advanced last year that expired in January. Those kind of things, helping working class families across the board, I think is really important.
Yes, sir.
But I do think that if you're a big corporation, that you should pay your fair share of taxes. And so what we voted for and what I support is a 15% base level of taxation for big corporations, because many Fortune 500 companies don't pay anything in taxes. And if you're a small business out there trying to make ends meet, you're paying your taxes, but these guys aren't paying theirs. And so making sure that they pay some modest level, which is well beneath the corporate tax rate, right? At least it's 15%. At least we get some money from them. So I think this concentration of wealth, if you were CEO in the 1970s, you've seen a 1,300% increase in your wages since the 1970s. 1,300%. If you're the average worker, your pay has been flatlined. So for us to say, well, we're never going to tax those people, even though they took all the wealth from the middle class and it went up to the top 5, 3, top 1% of the people in the country, is insane. Like, we need them to pay their fair share. Look, I think government needs reformed. Our government isn't modern. It doesn't operate efficiently. We got a lot of work to do to reform the government. But no matter what the case is, we need to ask those kind of people who have enough money to build their own space station and fly themselves to space. Like, maybe they could chip in a little bit, and none of us should feel bad about that.
I agree. I do. I also kind of want to pivot into, I think, what else could be essentially sound bites that are taken out of contrast. So within our community, I can speak for myself. I can speak for many of my brethren. We've had horrible run-ins with police, overly aggressive, overly policed. And there is some information out there as it pertains to the Black Lives Matter movement and also defund the police. Throughout our community, when we hear those terms, we don't think about the corporation. We don't really support the corporation. We think about the movement and the ideology, and essentially us continuing to kind of press for fair and equal treatment in the hands and in the presence of law enforcement. But there is some information out there that suggests that you felt a different way about defund the police and really the treatment that we are experiencing nationwide when in the presence of law enforcement. So I wanted to ask, again, for a little bit of clarification on what you really, what you believe and what you want us to know as it pertains to police brutality and how we're treated in the presence of law enforcement.
Well, you should know that I did vote for criminal justice reform on a couple of occasions. And I do think we do need reform. There's no question about it. We have to make sure we get rid of bad cops, but there are a lot of good cops, and we probably need more good cops in our communities to keep our communities safe. And to me, we have an outbreak in violence in some of our communities here in Ohio. We also have to do something about how all these illegal guns get into the hands of these criminals, which many people, don't want to address that issue. And I think that is part and parcel of making sure that we have safe communities. But I don't think we should be defunding the police. And I'm very, very clear about that. I think, again, we need reform and we need to get rid of bad cops. And I think a lot of good cops want to get rid of bad cops too, because it damages the entire profession. We need to move to community policing. I have a bill that is the only bill in Congress that has the support of both the NAACP and the FOP. It's a police training, immersion training bill where cops are really getting the deep dive on the training that they need to be able to handle some of these situations. And I feel like if we could start building bridges, with the law enforcement and the NAACP and the Urban League and the local pastors and the local churches, we're going to be far, far ahead. But we do need security on the ground. You can't have jobs and economic development. You can't have people investing in the communities if they're not safe. So we need to really look at reform. I talked about in my last answer about government is broken and we need to reform our government and modernize it. I think that speaks directly to what we need to do in law enforcement as well. And that's going to take an investment. But I just don't think it's helpful to anybody in communities where there is crime for us to be saying that, somehow we need to defund the police. We need to reform law enforcement, but they're going to need resources to help make that happen. And again, and I know a lot of people talk about this too, there are mental health issues, there are addiction issues, and we need to make sure we're not dumping that all onto the lap of the police officers as well. And I think there's a way. It's just going to start with a conversation, which is why I'm trying to get away, from some of these politicians, like the one I'm running against, where it's all about divide, 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 and throw gasoline on fires, as opposed to have conversations that are thoughtful, that are going to get to some healing and some reconciliation, and actually some thoughtful legislation that could help move us forward.
Splendid. Thank you. And thank you for that clarification. I kind of want to wrap it up here. I know I don't have much more time here with you. But I want to ask, just in short, as you wrap things up, oftentimes we see Democratic politicians and people running at any level on the Democratic side, pandering and begging for our votes, only then to get our votes. And then we feel left out. We feel overlooked. We feel as if it's important that we show up, but it's not important to get back to us. So I kind of wanted to ask, in the event that you get our community's vote, one, what are your plans? What is your intent as it relates to the Black community? And if you could just kind of wrap it up there with the things that you want us to know and remember about you as we're now looking to start voting and looking to go to the polls, and why it's important to support you.
Well, as you know, past is prologue, and I would just encourage everybody to look at my record on the justice issues, and they will find that I have an impeccable record on behalf of the issues that you and your fraternity are very, very passionate about. And I will say, I just don't want to ask for your vote or want your support. I would love to have you all working on behalf of this campaign over the course of the next 40 days, helping us knock on doors, having a presence in the communities in Ohio. That would mean a lot to me. And I will only promise you one thing: my door will always be open. You guys will always have an opportunity to share your views and what's important to you. And I hope that this is the beginning, not the end, but that we can build a real strong relationship. But really could use your help. Not just your votes, but we'll be reaching out, because we want guys knocking on doors. We want to hit the barber shops. We want to make sure we're active in the community over the next 40 plus days, and we really appreciate your help along the way. So thank you for all you guys are doing, and thanks for the opportunity to share my views with you.
Thank you. Thank you for all that clarification that you gave us. I thought it was really important to, ask the questions, but at the same time, not present myself as an enemy or as an opposition, so much as just giving you a chance to expand and really make things clear. I'm very aware of how The media can make it sound one way, and in reality, it's another. So I really want to thank you and Brother Washington for coming on, for clarifying, and for giving us the information we need to be confident in you. Thank you, and good luck with everything. We will
Appreciate
certainly
it.
be in touch.
Thanks,
Go
Christopher.
right ahead. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brother
Thank you.
Washington. Thank you.
Thank you. Talk soon.